Like, we literally, you are why we do this, actors. So literally, we love you. We want you to be it. And I know that's a real cliche. I know, you say you've interviewed so many casting directors and they've probably all said that, but we're completely on your side. And, I know there are some out there that you may think otherwise, but most of us are just fun individuals who are creatives like you and want you to do well. So yeah, let's break the stigmatism that we're in any way scary, because we're just human and we're fun, we're great.
All right, so today I'm joined by Casting Director Sydney Aldridge. Sydney, thank you for joining, and how are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's a muggy evening. It's been raining all day. But yeah, other than that, doing great.
I mean, I'm good. We had a good run with the sun. We had our good summer stretch, and
yeah, we had a solid 3 days.
Hey, I mean, I'll take it. I'm sure it'll come back in August for another few days or whenever it might be.
I hope so.
If not sooner.
I didn't actually get out in it because it's just been pretty full on. So,
which is a good thing, though, right? That's a good thing. Like,
definitely a good thing. Not complaining. Don't get me wrong.
How does that compare to maybe almost this point last year for you? Obviously, being freelance. I know you work as well as an associate sometimes with people like Sasha Robertson, but you're a freelancer, just like everyone else is an actor who's a freelancer. How did last year, June time, look for you in terms of work, and how are you affected by everything?
I'll be honest, and some people might be a bit like, I actually had a great year.
How dare you? I did too.
Oh, great. That's so good. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it was horrific. In terms of financial stability and stuff like that, but I don't really care about that. I'm not very financially focused or motivated. I care mainly about the work. And some of the work I did in 2020 I was so proud of. Like, I worked on The Show Must Go Online for 20 weeks, which a good friend of mine, Rob Miles, started it literally before lockdown was announced. It was I think it was the day that the theaters shut down, that dreadful day that we all remember. And he went, why don't we like do a Shakespeare per week and do the whole canon in a year? And I was on board that project, casting it every week. I cast a Shakespeare a week for 20 weeks. So that kept me incredibly busy, incredibly motivated, and I had so much fun working with that team. I'm also very lucky because I tend to work in screen more than stage. I have a few stage projects of my own going on, but like, I know so many people that just were furloughed or not furloughed because of freelance for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I just felt incredibly lucky that I work in screen, and I got some, I met loads of new people over Zoom, actors, directors, producers, and I got a few projects as a result. So I really can't complain.
I mean, that's kind of the thing from a connections and networking perspective, because everybody had so much more time. Then there was just so much more opportunities to have a chat with someone who normally might not have the time to do that. And then from there, everything kind of, opens up and goes from there. I mean, in many ways, this right now is the genesis of that in of itself. So, it's just one small example. You said about 7 things there that I want to pull on in different ways. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait, which way do we go first? Before I get ahead.
Have a pencil and start making notes.
I know, right? Yeah, I should. My pen's like right over there, just out of reach. Maybe it's not a bad thing that I don't have easy access to it. Before I do and get into pulling on nuanced threads, let's me just go a little bit to the beginning and just chat a little bit about who is Sydney, what's her journey been, how have you kind of got to where you're at now? Big question, I know. Like, what's the meaning of life? In the Cliff Notes abridged version of, how have you kind of got to where you are now?
Sure. So I trained as an actor. I worked as an actor for a few years and loved it. I worked at incredible places, probably the highlight being the Globe,
Wow.
which was awesome.
Amazing.
And I got into casting in 2015. I graduated from drama school in 2014. So I was doing both for a little bit. And I literally, a friend of mine worked as a receptionist at a casting office. And I just kind of went, oh, that's really cool. You know, you get to see both sides of the table. That's awesome, because she was an actor as well. And there was just one day that she couldn't make it because she was on a hen party. And I went in and covered for her, and then kept, going in. Yeah. So that's how I got into it. Lots of people ask how I get into it. And obviously after 2020, lots of people are looking to maybe change it up a little bit. And they're like, how do you get into casting? I'm like,
find a hen party.
I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know. It's crazy. There is a course, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But so I started working in casting with Brendan McNamara, who taught me everything I know. Just a glorious human. And I was doing both for a little bit, acting and casting. And I got to a point where everyone wants to get to when they're an actor, where I just started to be offered work, which is glorious and wonderful. But I would be offered this work, and I did mainly stage as an actor. So I'd be offered the work, and I'm like, okay, so if I go off for 3 months, that means I'm going to miss working on this project and this project in casting. And I went, there's a problem here. And I made the move, and I, took my agent out for wine and,
let them down gently. Yeah.
Told them what was going on, and they were like, well, that's fine, because we'll still have a relationship. It will just be a different relationship now. So, so that's me. And I've worked with various wonderful people: Brendan McNamara, Anna McAuley, Rose Wicksteed, Gina J, Sasha Robertson most recently, and Kate and Lou as well, a bit ad hoc. So I've learned from the best, learned from loads of super brilliant people in this industry.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because I know people who are actors that also go in and cast, and sometimes they do it because they want to get a different vantage point on the process, and some make the leap, and many do a year and then they're like, no, my acting comes first, and they go back into the acting. What was it for you that you felt gave you that intrinsic draw more to casting than to pursuing what was already a growing and established acting career? Because clearly something pulled you more towards that side than the other.
I think, to be honest with you, I just love actors. And I love actors to work with them in an acting scenario. But what I found is that I love supporting actors and calling that agent and going, your client got the job, Also, at that point, I was working a lot in commercials, and I still do, with Sash. So I loved how fast it was. And what I've found since doing more film and TV stuff with people like Rose Wicksteed, Gina J, Sash as well, but also my own stuff, is that it's such a slower process. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But at that point, I loved how quick fire the commercials were. And I also just loved being in a room with actors all day. It was really, really heartwarming, and it just made me feel good. So, yeah.
And I guess you're going from different project to different project within such a short time frame that it's always something new. Yeah. It's always something fresh. And what did you say? You were 1 year out of drama school?
I was at the time when I started working heavily in commercials. So that was 2015. So I've been in casting for 6 years now, and I've had my own company for coming up to 3 years now. Exciting.
Amazing. You got in there before COVID kicked in as well. So you had a bit of an established foothold, as opposed to like end of 2019. And then you've got a month. And
I absolutely feel for these drama school grads that have come out in 2020 and 2021. But what I keep saying to them is, look, we're not going to forget it.
Sure.
We're not going to forget you. We're not going to forget that was your initiation into this industry. And hey, it gives them something to talk about in the room.
There you go. Yeah, as film students as well, I know a lot of final year students that have had the same thing, and the restrictions of not being able to make their end of year marquee project in the same way they were expecting, but also not having access to sometimes the equipment that they would normally have. So instead of having, an Arri Alexa or Sony Venice, they have first year cameras that are like DSLRs.
Right.
So they don't have their calling card of what many of them maybe paid for to go and do the course. And, anyone in any disciplines had it difficult, but especially, film and drama students, just because like that end of year showpiece, like that's what you're working towards. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm doing it, but it's on Zoom. Like it's cool. I get to do it, but it's an interesting one.
Although one thing that I absolutely think that's come out of this situation that's brilliant is online showcases.
For real.
Because I'm so busy all the time, and I can sign up to go to a drama school showcase and get a ticket and be like, yeah, I'll go to that. Oh, Soho, it's not that far from my office. I'll be back there and back in an hour kind of thing. And, plus the showcase time. But if it's busy, if it suddenly kicks off, I'm not going to that showcase, and that's a real shame. And I hate that. I hate letting people down. I hate feeling that I'm late to something, and that's kind of gives me all that kind of in my head. Yeah. So putting the showcases on Zoom or filming them and making it an online thing, I think is brilliant. And I think should stay personally, because I've been able to watch so many more showcases this year than I have previous years, because even if it is really busy, I can still have it there. I can still have it in the corner and watch it, So yeah, I think that is something that has come out of it that's been really good for the drama school students.
I mean, hopefully it's going to be best of both, right? Where they can have both. But I guess that's a good point around just the accessibility for you and being able to still tap into seeing stuff when normally if it's physical only and you can't, then you're not going to get to actually see any of those students. How does it differ though for you as an experience doing it that way? Like obviously you're seeing them and connecting with them, but because it's over Zoom and not in person, do you feel like something is lost at all, or are you not really looking at it in that way?
With Zoom auditions, you mean?
Well, auditions or even the showcases, right? Obviously, if it's screen, I guess it's a bit different because you're going to want to see how people do convey across the screen anyway. But even then, you'd lose something that you don't pick up like you do when you're in the room. What's your take on it?
Oh, I mean, I'm ready to get back in the room. Sure. I know we're not quite there yet. Like I'm a member of the CDG. That's something that happened this year, which I'm so
I saw. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Just at the turn of the year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was literally January, and my birthday's in January, so it was a great birthday present as well.
There you go. Happy New Year and birthday all rolled into one.
Absolutely, thank you. But the CDG have been sort of not telling us what to do, but just guiding us with what to do with that. And at the moment, we're still erring on the side of caution. So with in the room stuff, so it is still in the Zoom where it happens, but that's okay. And yes, to answer your question, there's definitely something lost with doing this. I love being in a room with actors. I've said it before. I'll say it till the cows come home. But I just find being in the room, sometimes you can give direction a different way, and they just go, oh yeah. Whereas on Zoom, it always feels quite limited,
So I'm going to pull on that thread, but I don't know if it's something that you can articulate because it feels like it might be just a experiential thing. But why do you feel it is that it's different over Zoom, say in person, given that you're still seeing the performance? Is it that you get more of a vibe of the person in the room because they're there physically and you can sense a note more implicitly, or?
It's probably a bit of that. To be honest, I feel that the energy is not from the actors necessarily, but sometimes from me as well, but sometimes from both. Sure. Because we are literally sat all day. Whereas when, I'm in a casting, I like to get up. I like to walk around. If I'm giving direction, I'll often, go over to them with the script. And often I'm also reading in with the actors. So I'm up and I'm doing stuff. And I just feel the energy is just up. also, you know, I do a lot of commercials, and commercials, the energy needs to be through the ceiling. It's got to be like like all the time from the actor's point of view. And I just feel like, and this is not me having a go at actors in any way, but I just feel like everyone is just a little bit less energy because we're sat at a computer. And the other thing is, you know, often they're sat waiting to come into the Zoom for a good 10 minutes. So they literally, you can feel everything just go.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in a waiting room with other actors, it's just different, you know, it builds you up more.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's that Zoom fatigue that kind of kicks in just by being stuck glaring at the screen for like 20 hours.
I feel it as well, you know. Sure. It's not just one-sided. I absolutely feel it. If I'm on a Zoom for 4 hours, whew, I feel it by the end. Yeah.
Oh, that's nap time. That's nap time straight away right after that. Absolutely.
That's a big nap, if not asleep.
Wow. Okay.
Like straight to bed.
Wow. You called it. What's your gut telling you in terms of how things might look moving forward? And I know no one can fully predict, but do you think that first round self-tapes and things like that they were here anyway, right? But do you think that that's still going to be in the majority of where things go just because of quickness, accessibility, you can see more people? Or do you think that that will eventually be all back in person again too? Or what do you prefer even?
I think it depends on the project.
Sure.
I think, for example, commercials with, you know, 15 rolls, getting 50 tapes in per roll, it's just not feasible.
Sure.
You know, and normally we would do, if it's a 15 roller, for example, or 20 rolls, then we would do sort of 2 solid days of casting on it, sort of 10 rolls per day, and see as many as we can in that time. But with all this uploading, I mean, I'm starting to go a little bit mad. But having said that, I absolutely love self-tapes, and I am in awe of the actors who have absolutely been able to create a studio in their homes. Like, I'm here, I haven't got any professional lighting, I've got my iPhone torch shining at me. Hello. Like, I you know, I am genuinely in awe of these actors that have built a whole studio in their own homes almost overnight. So I also love self-taping for things like film, because normally in a casting studio, I have maybe 4 hours. So I've got to just see, you know, I've got to see my regulars, people that I know are going to nail it. Because ultimately I need this role cast, you know. But like self-taping,
one wild card maybe gets thrown in there or something.
Sure. Oh yeah, more than one for sure.
But you're saying 10 to 20 people, maybe it's not opening up as much to people. And also I guess geographical boundaries mean that in some cases it's always going to have to be, if it's quick turnaround, London only. Yeah. Whereas the self-tape lets you open that up in terms of numbers and just location a bit.
Oh, massively so. I've been able to see people from all over the country for these roles, you know, that normally I wouldn't have been able to see. And I love that. So I think self-taping as a first round for things like TV, film.
Sure.
Maybe stage. I'm not sure about stage. I don't work enough in stage. Also, there's something about being in a room and working on a script, and, you know, it's a bit different. But certainly for TV, film, I feel like it's here to stay for the first round. And I think it was going that way anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And I should have prefaced that because for commercials, it absolutely makes sense to be doing it in person as and when you can, just because
it's just so time consuming. And, you know, I feel like I'm coming across as a bit of a moan. I really don't want
I didn't want to say anything, Sydney, to be fair, but, you know.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. But, like, you know, I really don't want to come across as a bit of a moan. But when you consider that at the moment, most of my workload is commercials, and we have 3 or 4 on at a time, and the amount of uploading that I need to do per day is absolutely insane.
There's enough admin in the roles that you do anyway, let alone having to add on just technical waiting for a thing to render as an upload is soul destroying, unless you love that. I don't know who does. Accountants, maybe.
I don't know. I know a couple of guys, Stu and Dan, God bless them. They literally have set up their own company during this time. It's called Self Tape Inc. Have a look into it if you're listening to this. But they basically provide a service of uploading.
Wow.
So I use them a lot. We love Stu and Dan. So, but because obviously they have a price tag as well, sometimes we just have to do it ourselves. And that is just the way it is at the moment. And that's fine. But I think for commercials, we will be back in the room pretty much as soon as we're allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, makes sense. And I guess, with that, it's anything to free up your time to focus on the stuff that not just that you want to do, but also that's more integral to the process in a way, or at least to the creative part of the process where, you want to be seeing more people, new people, and also with the short time spans you do have, especially with commercials, giving those adjustments, seeing if someone can take that note. And that's something maybe we could springboard into now in terms of any tips or bits of advice you'd give for people coming to audition for commercials, say, versus film and TV, because they're very different mediums. You already gave an example of the heightened reactions and expressions as he knocks his microphone. What advice and tips would you give, especially to maybe recently graduated actors coming into the industry?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first thing with commercials is to just read the brief. Like, not just the brief on Spotlight, the brief that we've given you to be like, okay, you need to do this, this, and this in your ident. And believe me, I know it's a lot. We ask a lot of people, we really do. But it's because we're not able to direct them. So we literally give them as much information as we can. Really, really read that brief. Make sure that you have hit the tone right, as well as, just getting the lines and stuff, however minimal those lines may be. But getting the tone right, and normally we will put that in the direction to just let you know, okay, so this is kind of documentary style. It's very real, it's very natural, it's very subtle. Whereas, okay, so this is all about the product, like slapstick, fun, over the top, big energy. And I just think nailing the tone of it, your job's done, really.
And then after that, that's the interesting point, right? Because it's like any audition, your job's done. Ideally, go home, forget about it, do something else, move on to the next one. But I find from my experience and from a lot of actor friends, when we talk about commercials more than any other time, that's the time more often than not where they come out of it and go, yeah, it went good, but I don't know really. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I think it went okay. I'm not really sure which way it'll go, because it feels, again, you don't have that many lines, if any. It can be really quick. It can just be a 5 or 10-second look. And so from the actor side, it's much easier to go into that headspace of, I have no idea what I just did then, and if that was any good whatsoever.
Yeah.
So there's two sides of this question. I'll start with the first one, which is from your side, when you're looking at those performances, are there specific things that you are really looking out for? What is it? The more the physicality, the emotion, the expression? What could actors listening to this take on board and maybe calm themselves down with by knowing if they've hit the mark?
Well, here's the thing.
Here we go.
I obviously watch the tapes because that's my job. But a lot of the time, I don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah, same as anything.
And as long as I present, the tapes, and I give it to my production team, they take it to the higher ups, the client or the agency that they're working with. And as long as they go, okay, everyone's happy, we'll get a shortlist to you, I'm like, cool, job done. Because there's so many cogs in a commercial. There's, what does the client want? Okay, but how does the brand want to, who did the brand want to represent them? What sort of person, is it fun, energetic? Is it subtle? Is it, what is it that they're looking for?
Do they even know yet? Are they just looking to you for suggestions?
Do they even know yet?
Sure.
like so many times, you know, we've had a brief come through and it's our job to put as, you know, many people that fit that brief to it. But occasionally, you know, Sash is so good, like Sash remembers everyone, and I'm learning a lot from her. And, you know, she'll go, let's see if these people are free as well. And I kind of go, oh, I don't necessarily see them for that. But 9 times out of 10, like 1 or 2 of them will get a pencil, and it's like, okay, like, you know, that wasn't necessarily the brief, but they're so good, and they're so good at commercials, these actors, that it can literally just turn it around. It's great, and turn the client around to be like, oh, actually, that's kind of what we're looking for.
And do you feel that a big part of that from the actor side is understanding, like with TV and film, that you're in service of the story? With a commercial, you're in service of the brand or whatever the product or service might be? Is that one, not main shift, but an important one to wrap your head around from the actor side?
I think so. And I think a lot of it, you know, is just landing it and getting experience on set of commercials, and just learning from these directors, like what these directors are looking for, and learning from other actors as well on set with you. You learn so much from watching other people in any medium, you know, stage, screen, whatever. You learn so much from other actors, and I just think the people that are booking it again and again and again,
There's a reason.
There's a reason, because they have experience doing it. But also, you know, experience doesn't always go in their favor with commercials, because they're like, oh, we don't want that guy because he was on one, you know, 2 months ago.
He was Pepsi and we're Coke and we couldn't have that.
Well, there's that as well. Yeah. But, you know, you want someone advertising a brand that isn't, you know, it's necessarily associated with loads of other stuff. Sure. I get that. But also, they're the ones that get the most pencils because they know what they're doing. And this is why I say to sort of youngish grads, but also any actors that are interested in commercials and think that, you know, that could be a direction to go in, it's do the tape or go into the casting, leave, do your job, leave, forget about it, because it's so out of your control. Like, I completely get with stage, TV and film, leaving an audition and being like, oh my God, I need to hear from that, you know, and I get that. That's why I'm fully committed to the yes or no campaign. But with commercials, there's so many cogs that you could have done your best work and still not get a pencil, and that's not your fault.
But to be fair, that's the same even with stage or screen as well. It's sort of across the board, because there's different, again, moving cogs there. It's just a different type of cog. You don't have an ad agency, but you have a network, which may as well be an ad agency. And I think that's the big thing for any actor, for us to get to a place of mindset around that. And this comes up every time whenever I chat with anybody who works in casting. And I ask the question because I like different vantage points on it. Nature and nurture, you know, on that. What's your take? Because some people might be intrinsically able to just have that mindset to drop it from day one. Many, you just need the experience of doing 50, 100, 200 auditions and not booking any, or only booking 1 or 2. What's your view on that? And is there anything any actor could do to help them with that process?
Okay, so what I used to do, and bear in mind, I'm not an actor anymore, so this
might but you have, it's not changed in like 5 years.
Sure, but also I left the industry, so it's like, do it if you want to do it. This is kind of what I say. This is what I used to do.
Okay.
I used to have a notebook, and whenever I got an audition, I would note down, you know, the key information: when, where, what time, what do I need to prepare, that sort of stuff. But I would also, I'd also make a note of like rough, like I'd do a little tally of how many hours I'd worked on it and stuff like that before the audition. And then, you know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes before, if that makes sense, you know. So let's say half an hour before your audition, I'd go and sit in a coffee shop. I'd make some notes on how I'm feeling about it. Do I feel prepared? Do I feel nervous? Have I had too much coffee? You know, that sort of thing. I'd just make a few notes, I'd go in, I'd also note down the casting director and the director's name, and I'd go in and do the audition, do my best, and then I'd go back to the coffee shop and I would sit and make some notes on how I thought it went. And if I got a recall, I would often note it down. And it was quite interesting to me to see the times that I felt super prepared, super ready for it, excited for it, and I wouldn't get a recall. And I don't know whether I know this text well enough, or I'm running 5 minutes late, I feel sick, like, you know, that sort of stuff. And sometimes I would get a recall. So there is literally no rhyme or reason for it sometimes. But what I did find most interesting about this process is that it really kept me in check here, because it's so easy to just spiral in this industry. And I get it, I've been there. But I found having a physical thing to do and a routine before and after an audition really helped me. And it was so interesting to see, to note down the directors, the casting directors, and the ones that would bring you back, you know?
That's really cool. And I think, like, a lot of times, I know I look at, you know, I have a log of people that have called me in and what was in the breakdown, and start to see patterns of, well, what types of adjectives seem to keep cropping up more and more for the things.
Yeah.
You start to know, well, okay, I go more for this versus that. But what I find fascinating about what you said is it had a lot less to do with the craft and the performance, because you'd done that work already. It was more the mindset before and after of checking in with yourself, which I think
So important
is the most important part in the long term, just because, to your point, it's so easy to do the audition, go out, and then just on to the next thing, but never actually process or check in with what just happened.
Yeah.
And that's festering in there somewhere. And then you don't hear back, and it's like, well, I didn't hear back from them.
Yeah. Also, having that process of just having 5 minutes after your audition to just make some notes allows you to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gives you that space to go, oh, this was awful, or I really enjoyed that. That director is so much fun.
But even if it is awful, to find a pivot on that, to still write that in a way that you feel happy to then leave the coffee shop, because ultimately you got to do that no matter what, right? So you get to pick.
And I always just kind of went, okay, so I'll make notes. The moment I close the book, we let it go.
No, I love that, Sydney, because no one's brought that kind of practical tip at all around sort of the process. It helps that you were an actress, obviously, and you know what we go through.
I do. I really do.
No, but I love that. I'm going to steal that. Even if I'm
do
self-taping at home, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes total sense. Have you always sort of been wired that way, to be sort of quite into the mindset approach, or is that something you had to learn over time, or a bit of both?
I wasn't taught it. Like, no one ever said to me.
No one teaches anyone that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no one said to me, you should have a notebook and note things down. This is completely my process. But all I know is that ever since I was tiny, I've loved writing things down. And I've loved making lists, to-do lists. And, you know, it's why I'm quite good at my job.
I was just about to say, and then you became a casting director.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about organization, multitasking, all of that. And I don't even know, there's probably about 10 blank notebooks in my house that are just there, ready for when I need them.
They don't know it yet, but they'll find out soon enough.
No, like I don't know whether you've ever heard this term before, but because I used to be a creative, and I still
used to be, you don't stop.
I still am, but because a lot of my work is this,
sure,
at the moment, as opposed to, you know, being in a room with people. I don't know whether you've heard this term before, but I'm a bullet journaler, and that is basically a journal of to-do lists, and you can track things like I have a mood tracker in there, so I track my mood. Like, for some reason, always at the middle of the month, I get into a bit of a, I don't know why, I can't explain it, but it's helpful to track the mood, and I create these.
Wait, so like now, middle of the month, it's like June 18th. You've been perfectly lovely, so I think you're lying to me about this, or you're just putting, or you're still an actress that's that good that I can't tell.
Well, it might be that, or it might be if we'd done this a couple of days ago, it'd be a very different interview.
There's that too. There's that too.
People will not want to come to an audition with me around the 14th, 15th. That's
amazing.
all I know.
Amazing.
But like, because I have that creativity or much creativity in my job,
sure.
I find that creativity in my journaling. You know, I draw things, I doodle, and you know, these journals, I keep them, so I always have something to look back on, and even that is helpful to my job. And yeah, I mean, just kind of proves that I like to make things and write things, and
but just an outlet for your thoughts and what's going on, because you know, if you keep everything boxed in, whatever it is, it has no way to express and release to let you then move on to something else. So it's just a healthy approach. And like you say, you stockpile all these journals, and one day you end up with a memoir like Matthew McConaughey, which is how he ended up writing his whole book, you know.
Right. And I think Bryan Cranston did something similar, where he just had so many notes everywhere and just kind of went, I should.
But I think McConaughey he said he took all his journals, went to like the desert for 10 days and just read them. I mean, that's very Matthew McConaughey, right? But like, to revisit stuff from when he was 19, 20 to then when he made his break, and seeing what he was feeling at the time that he'd forgotten about now, to reflect, but then, you know, see what the through lines were. It's quite a beautiful thing to think about retrospectively, like, you know, Sydney when she's 60, looking back at her life and how she's evolved. That's what the journals are going to let you do from a selfish point of view.
Yeah, still moody in the middle of the month, 60 years old.
maybe not. I mean, with that attitude, clearly, if that's what you're going to put out there, but maybe not.
Yeah. Also, you know, I've been journaling, bullet journaling. This is really going off subject, but never mind. I've been doing this for about 3 years. So since the start of my own casting, really. And it's going to be fascinating in 5 years' time, you know, because it was really new for me, all of this, and journaling was new for me as well. And yeah, it will be interesting. Maybe I'll go to the desert and write a memoir.
Maybe you should. Can you write a memoir though when you're like our age? I think you have to wait a while and sort of hit like midlife or something for people to really.
Yeah, I just want to
go to the desert.
I just want to leave the UK at some point in the
really?
year. I mean, not forever.
Oh, you mean just take a holiday? Okay.
I need a holiday. I need a beach. I need a desert. Whatever. Yeah, I need something, and I'm sure lots of other people can understand that. And
I think most people, yeah. Although I'm not quite in the camp yet of people going, I deserve my holiday and I'm going to go no matter what, at the risk of infecting like half of Spain that doesn't have the vaccine rollout just yet. But next year,
I have nothing booked yet, because I'm not willing to lose the money, but also let's not be silly, you know.
But also, when you go somewhere, you want to enjoy it for what it is without all these restrictions. Otherwise, you're not really going to be taking it in for all that it could be. So next year, we are going so off topic. This is like the journaling and travel podcast. No, it's great. I love it.
I said to you before we started it was going to do this. I knew it.
I love it. It's awesome, because, you know, but I think there's things in there from the journaling that any creative or even anyone can take, because it's an important habit to, I think, have, and to take the time for yourself, God forbid.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, I think you did, about having your own theater projects. And I'm assuming by that you mean things that you not just cast, but actually are creating and putting on yourself. Is that right? Or just casting?
No, I just cast it. I'm not a producer in any way. I couldn't do it. Like, I'm in such awe of producers. Like, if I ever think that my job is hard or my job is busy, I mean, look at these producers. It's honestly madness. No, I'm very involved with a company called Red Rose Chain, who are based in Ipswich. I've worked there a couple of times when I was an actor, and now it's crossed over quite nicely. So I'm their sort of in-house casting director, and they normally, under normal circumstances, put on 3 shows a year. So I don't always need to cast 3 shows. Like, sometimes I'll do 1 or 2, but yeah, I'm kind of their person for that. So that's great, and I'm really excited. They're actually about to start, I think, next week, their R&D for Macbeth, which is going to be their sort of big summer production for 2022, but they're doing an R&D this year to kind of work stuff out.
I mean, look, at least they've got some productions going, and sort of things are picking back up on the theater side, because that, you know, was definitely sort of a bit, yeah. I mean, a lot of obviously disappeared. And what's your view on that from the regional side? Do you feel like, hopefully, from what you're hearing, a lot of them are slowly opening back up? They've kind of somehow found a way to survive, or does it still seem like it's a bit touch and go for some of them because we're not fully out the woods yet?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think the Arts Council and councils in general have been amazing. Not always, but, you know, I mean, we saw Knee High had to close, you know, last week. Like, what a travesty that is. But I know the Arts Council have been brilliant for Red Rose Chain in particular, but also loads of other theatres and regional theatres that have been suffering. But also, you know, councils like, you know, that have saved the Globe and, you know, helped out the National, and all of that just hopefully means that we can just have them survive, and yeah, we can start going back soon.
Yeah, figure out whatever that looks like, and whether it's half capacity or whatever it needs to be. But it's been, what is it now? It's well over a year. It's kind of insane, isn't it?
It really is.
Would you never have any temptation going back to the production side of ever putting something up of your own?
No.
Well, the way you thought about that, I was like, maybe she will, but no, that came from deep down. A resounding
no. I'm in such awe of theatre companies, production companies that do this, and I just don't think I'd be very good at it. I
guess it's also the commitment of that, like with a film too, you know, you're putting in, it's not just for a few weeks, it's a sort of big old investment of time and everything.
Yeah, like I'm still on a couple of films that I picked up in 2020, and just one of them's nearly done, one of them is not. We're not off the ground in any way, and it's hard. It's hard. And I love it, and I keep going, and we will get these films made. That's kind of the mindset I have to it. But we're in this catch-22 of like investors needing something to invest in, as in a person or a name, and names or agents going, well, we need, you know, there needs to be some money in the bank for our actor to be attached. So it's this absolute catch-22 vicious circle kind of thing, and it's hard. But,
I was gonna say, yeah, because that is catch-22. And how do you find people reconcile that? Because it's very difficult to make one or the other sort of put their guard down if those are the only stipulations.
Yeah, to be honest, we've got to rely on the actors loving the script, and I tend to do projects where I really, really connect with the script in some way, and I think the script is, because I know how hard, I know from production side how hard it is to have this amazing project that no one can invest in and no one wants to be part of. It's not even that, it's just they don't have time, or, you know, they read the script and it's not something they're looking for at the moment. There's so many different factors as to why people say no, you know.
I mean, there's that, right? There's the timing and the moment and the zeitgeist that we're in, and just, you know, you hear that about all kinds of movies where, you know, you think, how is that not, how did that go around for 10 years and then it's happening now? And it's just, people didn't want to hear about whatever that theme was maybe at that time, or
that's it,
it gets buried for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the way I see it as well is that I'm working with lots of sort of up and coming directors, and I know that if this script was in another director's hands, it would be a very different story. Do you know what I mean? But I believe in those directors and I believe in that script, and I know that someone will come on board eventually, and, you know, it's just a matter of keep tapping at the window. Hello.
That's the thing for people outside the industry. They don't quite get the time that goes into putting this together. Number one, it's not glamorous most of the time. And number two, it takes, you know, way longer than the 90 minutes that we watch on the screen suggest. And, you know,
also, you know, just getting that one person, whoever that may be,
can change it,
to come on board will create so many jobs for so many people and will get actors their big break, you know, to be in a scene with that person. And I completely understand that that can't be a factor for them. I get that. And they really need to just connect to the project, or they really need to have a break in their career where they're like, okay, yeah, I want to do that and stuff like that. And I'm, you know, I get that there's so many factors here, but yeah, it's really hard to just be sat on a project for a long time and it not go the way you want it to go immediately. You know, that's tough. That's why I love commercials as well, because it's like, oh, we get given a brief. Oh, we don't need investors. Oh, we're looking for 20 actors. We can sort that for you. Bish, bash, bosh. In 2 weeks, we're done. On to the next one.
And you can see the results, right? You can see sort of what you've brought to life a lot quicker. But it must be nice to have both. It must be nice to be able to dip into both sides so you can actually have that other longer creative process on something.
Yeah, I would love my career to be a mixture of a bit of everything, you know, commercials, film, TV. I've not done enough TV, to be honest, but I'm working on something at the moment, which is fun, and stage, because I love all of it, but like they need to go hand in hand. I think that's how I'll be fulfilled as a casting director.
Well, you're already kind of doing that, right? You're already kind of doing
I'm on the way,
yeah.
You know, I'm on the way.
Exactly.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I've probably got another few months of grafting, of assisting, and I absolutely love where I'm at the moment with Sash. And yeah, we will figure it out.
Amazing. I did have a follow-on question, and it's totally blanked out of my mind, which happens all the time. So on that note, let's push on to the final bit that I like to do on this, which is stolen straight out of inside the actor's studio. And you know the 10 questions he asked at the end? I
love it.
You know where I'm going with this?
I do.
All right. Ready. You've done this. Have you done this before?
I've never done this before.
Oh, okay. I felt like maybe you might have answered these. All right. So whatever comes to your mind. First question is, what is your favorite word?
Changed.
What's your least favorite word? I feel like you know, but are holding back.
I am, because it's a bit of a swear word.
That's okay, because question 5 is, what's your favorite swear word? So if you want to swear, say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. Least favorite word, funny.
Okay.
It actually does something. It makes me convulse on the inside. It's horrid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as bad as the one with the C.
Great word.
But there is something, yeah. It doesn't feel polite. I've never had anyone say
also,
that. Also,
it means something different in the UK than it does to Americans.
That's true. Yeah, if you go around saying, hey, you like my fanny pack, it's a different thing in the States. So yeah, that's caused problems every so often. Question number 3 is, what turns you on creatively?
Just something raw and real. Like seeing, like if someone came into the room and you didn't even, like they went into the script and you didn't even know, and you were reading with them like, oh shit,
we're doing it.
We're in a scene. Like, I love that. And just, yeah, I'm not really a snob about like drama school training and all of that. Like that's the process I went through, but I just, something raw and real right in front of me, I'm like all day long.
On the flip, what turns you off creatively?
Someone like glued to the script. Also, arsehole directors.
Yeah. I mean, just assholes generally, but
just assholes in general. But I just find an arsehole actor and an arsehole director, I'll take the actor over the director. Like, honestly, it's a real sort of problem that needs to get stamped out.
Yeah, it's that thing if it's supposed to be a collaborative medium. And so if it's actually taking the word director a little bit too much to heart, obviously it's their medium too if it's film, so I get that, but
yeah,
there's ways and there's ways. But I feel like that's evolving, right? Like it's interesting because I think it's a generational shift that's happening as well. And you know, both here and in the States, where you're seeing more of an ethos of people wanting to work with people that they just, have a good time with and do
Like
good
to work
work.
with, yeah.
Like you've got to work hard and it's not always going to be easy or unicorns shining out of your butt,
Mm.
but there's got to be some feeling of respect and mutual collaboration and
That's it. The lack of respect sometimes is what really bothers me. And I do feel like, as you say, it's changing. There are more female directors, there are more directors who are working class, there are more directors who are people of color, and there are more writers and producers and stuff like that coming through now, which they may have found in the past had a bit of a door slammed in their face. That time is over. So it's a really exciting time at the moment to be working in screen.
And it's a period where people can create and make something for themselves and get it seen or get it connected much more readily, whether you're an actor or a writer or producer. And I say this a lot to other actor friends, like, why are we waiting just for the phone to ring? Because you might go for fucking ever for it to ring, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
So the power is in just telling stories, because that's why we do it. Just tell a story. It doesn't matter what it is, a rehearsed reading, a short film, a one-person play.
Yeah, like sometimes people tend to forget as well that casting directors can't just sit and wait for the phone to ring. Sure. Like we have to go out there and network. We have to meet these new directors, up and coming directors. We need to get in touch with these production companies to get on the radar. So I get it. Like literally making your own work.
Exactly. Question 5 is, what is your favorite swear word?
Fuck.
Favorite or multi-usage? Because that always, just both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
just such a good one, and I try and be careful with it in a professional setting. Sure. But there's it's such a wonderful moment when.
Wait, hold on. What are you saying? The same professional?
Well, I haven't said it up until now.
I know, I've said it at least twice, so it's all fucking good.
There's a wonderful moment where you break the barrier between sort of casting director relationship, and you're just like, fucking hell, it's great.
Yeah, it's like,
that's my favorite.
Now we're sort of seeing each other as human beings and not as just professional entities.
Yeah, and also the frustration, because I've spoken about the frustration of working in film. So getting the frustration out. Fuck. And
then move on.
Sorry, Mom.
Amazing. I'm going to send it straight to her so she can critique
you. That's going to be the little sort of soundbite right at the start.
That's my ident. I mean, it wasn't going to be, but it is now.
Fuck. Sorry, Mom.
Exactly. Amazing. Instagram stories. You're welcome.
There it
is. The next question is, what is your favorite sound?
Sound. That's a good one. Popcorn popping.
Ooh.
Not in a microwave, in a pop.
No, and like when you go to the theater or to the cinema and you actually not a microwave, it's just getting nuclear detonated into some smush or whatever.
Exactly. It just reminds me that I'm about to watch a good film, or also just popcorn is one of my favorite snacks ever. So
okay, well then here's the big question then. Salted or sweet?
Salted every time.
Thank you. You can stay on the show.
Yes.
Sweet.
None of this salt and sweet stuff. No, ma'am. Not sweet.
Yeah, I don't get that. The salted and sweet feels wrong, and the sweet, I've got to be like needing a sugar insert that quickly that I maybe have.
Yeah, but I tell you what beats salt? Like American butter pop.
I was going to ask you then about that, because they don't really they don't do that here in the UK, do they?
No. I actually went to the lengths of importing from the States a big sort of box of butter popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's gone now. But that was a moment in my life.
Was it as good as opposed to when you actually?
It was great.
Okay.
It was great.
I mean, to be fair, it's like buttered popcorn, next stop heart attack, but it's by the by. Forget about that. The next question is, what's your least favorite sound?
hate car horns.
Mm.
It really annoys me. Like, you know, if you're just at a traffic light or something and it just turns green and someone behind you goes, meh, it's really hard not to be like, all right. Do you know what I mean? It just puts you in an instant like.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the asshole director behind you. That's the thing. So it's just par for the course. But I get you. It's that big city thing too, right? Like London, New York, like it's just, you can't get away from that, unfortunately.
I mean, I know some people that absolutely can't stand sirens, but that doesn't bother me really if a big siren goes past, but it's the car horns.
Well, the intent's different, right? If you hear a siren, you know that they're gone.
Someone's in trouble and someone's on the way. That's kind of what that says to me. But yeah, car horns, no ma'am.
I'm fine. I'm going to caveat this and say from my side, I'm fine with car horns if someone's driving in a reckless or stupid way.
Sure.
It was intended. But if it's just like I'm impatient and I've got to rush to somewhere that I think I have to be, even though no one noticed that I'm not there yet, then yeah. Next question is, what job other than the one that you do or ones you've done would you most like to attempt?
I'd like to write.
Okay.
I've never written anything.
What, like a novel or just anything?
No, I think like plays.
Play?
Yeah. Like I love to read. I love novels. Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. I also just love the idea of someone's lifestyle being, you know, I'll just wake up at like, you know, 10:30 today and I might write a paragraph and then, I'll go out for lunch, you know, like that kind of lifestyle of just.
As someone who's written short films and some feature films, I can tell you that is definitely not how it feels. No, it's more like, oh fuck, I have to do this again. Okay, wait, no. Okay, no, I can't type that yet. I've described it, to me at least, as feeling like running blindly or like with my eyes closed, head first towards oncoming traffic and screaming at the top of my lungs.
Okay, so I'm going to rethink that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But in my perfect world, I would live this bougie lifestyle of just like, you know.
I mean, and maybe for you, you could make that work. And if you do, can you send me some tips? Because I've not figured that out.
I think also, you know, that element of creating something is just not something I've ever experienced from that side of things before. You know, I've created characters and I've created casts and I've built things in terms of casting and stuff like that, but creating the characters, creating the story, I've not done anything like that before.
I read Stephen King's book. I think it's his memoir called, I think, About Writing or something along those lines. And it was really fascinating to hear his process because, you know, whether you like the genre or not, his stuff is amazingly well written.
Oh, yeah.
And the key thing that came out was it was this non-sexy word of discipline.
Right.
Like every day, if he knew he had to get something done, he'd set himself a deadline if he didn't have one. And he's like, the next month or 3 weeks, every day, I'm going to get up and I know between this time and this time I work the best. And I'm going to write X thousand number of words or this number of pages, whether I think it's good or not, it doesn't matter. I just have to like, first step is just bash the keyboard or typewriter. And then the flow state kind of comes from there. But it's getting the butt in the chair that seems like is the biggest challenge.
See, I think that process would suit my organizational bullet journal to do this routine personality.
Actually, you should give it a go. You might actually do another career shift and become like this is how your memoirs are going to get done. You're going to go to the desert. You're going to write all of this stuff. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Put it on the business expenses. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're there for. What job would you never want to attempt no matter what?
Anything to do with numbers.
Even with all the bullet listing and stuff in there and the organization.
I've just not been very good with numbers. I always just did better at English, less well at maths, you know? So like if I was working as an accountant or something like that, it just wouldn't happen. There isn't an alternative universe where that is where I've ended up. Honestly, there really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the best. We have accountants for that. Some people love it.
Some people
God bless them. We need them.
Some people love it. I'm not one of those people.
No, you clearly got the notebooks and the nice sort of fountain pens for your birthday as opposed to the abacus.
Yeah, like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, even when we get to the point of starting to talk about money, that stresses me out sometimes, because I'm like, okay, what if I get two numbers round the wrong way? Like, I'm not dyslexic or anything like that, so it's not a worry in that sense, but it's just a worry of like, I need to get the numbers right, because that's the most important thing.
But is it?
It's not.
To be continued. I mean,
well, it's not.
It's important, I think, of course, because we have to be able to live and have a lifestyle we want, and money is a big part of that. So it's wrong to just say it's not about the money and it's, starving artist life forever, because that's no fucking fun either.
That's it. Well,
but
also,
it's the balance.
I said, like, I'm not financially focused in any way. So I literally do the projects because I love them. And it's a bonus that I get paid to do what I love. But actually, for the actors and for the agents, like, it's not just, of course, it's not just about that, but that is very important. So I'm always like, can someone else do this for me?
Amazing. And that's what accountants and casting assistants are there for, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I will get to a point one day where I can employ someone just to do the cans and just to do the deal memos and all of that. But it's just
all that fun stuff. Final question, a little bit more on the ethereal side. It's when it's all said and done, what would you like the story of your life to be? What kind of legacy would you want to leave behind?
I've never really been about fame. Like, that doesn't bother me. But I'd love to be able to pass something down, like something physical. So whether that, I'm literally just saying this out loud, it's probably nonsense, but like, whether that's like a CDG award or...
Say it out loud. Say it out loud. There you go. That's better.
I was so excited for 2020 start off, when they announced that casting was finally getting a BAFTA. Finally
being the operative word.
Honestly, and we're still in the bits after all the main event. Oh, here were some awards that were handed out earlier. Sure. We're still there. Sure. But for now, that's fine. And yeah, I'd love to be able to get to a point, when all was said and done, because it's not about awards, but I'd love to be able to have something to go, this was what it was all for.
It's not about the physical statue, it's more about what it symbolizes, right? And whatever that entails for your journey, and when how you'd have to intersect and impact people in the process of doing that, which feels like you sort of have quite a bit of a cadence towards that already, in terms of knowing that it's about doing the work that you love and are passionate about, but on a bigger scale, how the casting industry in of itself is perceived and how you fit within that sphere.
It's definitely more about that. Like, I don't want anyone to sit here thinking like, oh, what is it all for? A BAFTA. No, it's not that. No. I would love for the world of casting to get the recognition that it so truly deserves. There's been times in the past where I've been in a waiting room with actors and someone's come in and been talking about a short film premiere that they're going to that night, and I cast that short film, but I didn't get the invite. Like, we're getting past that now.
Is that asshole directors again?
Asshole directors.
It feels like it might be.
Yeah, we're getting past that now. It's finally starting. We still don't have an Olivier Award for the stage casting directors.
If anything, I mean, not that one comes before the other, but I really would have thought maybe it would have gone to the Oliviers first and then BAFTAs, but whatever. And then Oscars, they'll catch up eventually.
They will. And if you were to ask me that question again, I'd probably word it differently. And I'd say, to be in the era of casting where it's really starting to matter to people.
I mean, it should, because, you know, I've spoken to, I'd say 80% of my guests have been casting directors, both here and in the States. And, you know, the projects they've worked on, some of the joyous actors they've found, some of the most amazing films and shows that we all love across the world. And yet, if you put it out there and people aren't in the industry, most won't know the names. Like, I find that I have to plug some of these episodes by saying to the non-actors, no, it's this person who casts such and such and such and such and such. It's the show or the film.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, that's amazing. Oh, what did they do?
Do you know
I don't
what?
know.
One of the things that annoys me as well, because I've got so many lovely, wonderful actor friends, and I'm not belittling them when I say this, because they're wonderful and they've got so much going on, but they go, oh, I've got a casting for this. And I go, oh, great. What's it for? Blah, blah, blah. Who's casting it? They go, I don't know. And this is why I had my book to see who was calling me back, because I'm like, okay, but this is your third commercial casting of the week. Wouldn't it interest you to know who's calling you in, who likes you, who wants to see you for that?
Well, it's that, because it saves your time too, right? Because not everybody is going to like, not like, it's the wrong word, but not everybody's going to resonate with your style or vibe, or they don't cast the kinds of shows or commercials that you would fit in. But then there's another group that do. And why would you want to spaghetti sling your energy at all the hundreds of casting directors all over the world when there's maybe 20 that are really truly fans?
Yeah,
but maybe that's another story for another day.
It all feeds into this sort of mindset, which is starting to change, thank God for that. But it is the mindset of, it's not about who cast it, it's about the end product, you know, because casting happens so early on. It's literally pre-production. Of course we get forgotten about by the time they're editing the credits. You know, I've been left out the credits more times than I care to mention. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So most of them, I get the invites to the so
you're invited to the premiere thing and then see you're not on the screen,
but then I'm like,
that's fucked up.
Yeah, it happens a lot, and it's always great because it always enables me to have a very honest and very nice conversation with production and director, to be like, hey guys, like, huge congrats on that, absolutely loved it, can I just check, are you still making edits? Because, and it always comes from a place of like, you're amazing, but can we try to not do that next time, kind of thing. But it does still happen, and you know, yes, we have a BAFTA, but we've still got a really long way to go.
Yeah, one step at a time. But it just feels like, you know, any project is a big old circus, and that takes every single person to pitch up the tent and have the show go smoothly, and
for sure,
everybody deserves to have their buttered popcorn at the end of the day. Wow, that was such a terrible analogy, but I feel like I brought this full circle. You see what I did? It was terrible. It felt really bad inside, actually.
I'm delighted. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought that was genius.
I feel like I sold my soul.
Maybe that should be the name of the episode. Butter popcorn.
Butter your popcorn. It's all good.
It's all good.
Final little moment to you. I like to always give it to the guest. If you were to leave people watching or listening with a sort of parting theme or message, or sort of a key thing to take away, what would that takeaway be? And if they want to connect with you, how can they do that? And if not, don't connect with Sydney, people.
Always connect with me, please. I love getting emails. I love getting invited to things, whether it's online or otherwise. Like, please do. All the contact details can be found on my website. In terms of like what people can take away from this, I really want to break the stigmatism that casting directors are nasty or stern or
gatekeepers of Narnia.
Yeah, I'd really like to break that, because we love you. Like, we literally, you are why we do this, actors. So literally, we love you, we want you to be it. And I know that's a real cliche. I know, you know, you say you've interviewed so many casting directors and they've probably all said that, but we're completely on your side. And, you know, I know there are some out there that you may think otherwise, but most of us are just fun individuals who are creatives like you and want you to do well. So yeah, let's break the stigmatism that we're in any way scary, because we're just human and we're fun, we're great.